Yeah.
Hey, Arun.
So I guess you will have 15 to 20 minutes to present, and then we'll do as usual after that, like 3 minutes per person to add comment or anyone has question. So let's go for the right. Thank you, Josh.
Okay. All right. Let me see if I can get you to share my screen with you.
Yeah.
Can you all see the screen?
Yeah,
Yes.
we do.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
Um,
100%.
yeah. So the book today is if you're in my office, it's already too late. And it's a book written by an author. He's also an attorney by the name of James J. Sexton. Apart from being an attorney, he is also divorced. So I think
Yes.
based on that, he writes from experience. But he has handled over 1,000 divorces, and he has seen all kinds of issues coming in there. And he gives very, unfortunately, his book is very raw, unfiltered, both in language and expression. Thus making it a little bit unsuitable for younger readers. And that's something that I did express at some point about it. Nevertheless, the content itself is very good, especially for people who are married or people that are planning to get married in future. There is so much to learn out of it, and there are so many takeaways from that book. The main themes that as I was reading through it is insights into what leads couples to divorce, and these are the reasons that come to his table when to his office when everything else has failed, and they start to say these are the issues. And one of the main things that he found being a problem was communication inside of the marriage. There are a lot of issues, but it looks like communication is the main cause, because had communication been there from the beginning, a lot of the issues that end up coming to his office would never have been in the first place. And then there is also issues that relate to understanding each person's commitment, what excuse me, what each person is required to contribute, what the expectation of their contribution is, excuse me, and how they contribute. So as I've said, the main causes are lack of communication, and but there's also issues of financial stress. Now here we looking at two scenarios. The first scenario is when there is not enough financial resources in the marriage or in the family. That in itself does cause a lot of stress, but it's also where financial management is not being shared equally among the partners in the marriage. That also is an issue that usually ends up at the divorce court. Then the other main problem is lack of intimacy in the marriage, where people are now emotionally detached from each other to a point where they eventually are also physically distanced from each other. And those issues, I think, are the main ones, but they are not the only ones. There are other issues, such as parenting issues. There are issues that have to do with the changing values and goals, because as we grow and mature from being the younger people that we were when we got married, our values and our goals change with us. And those, if they are unchecked, can be a reason for a failure in the marriage. They are also, he also found that there is a lack of emotional intelligence in some cases. In other words, um, people do get married, and sometimes we expect that the other person will grow up, but they don't grow up, and the emotional intelligence remains retarded for longer than expected. And that in itself, when there is that lack of emotional intelligence in the family, it does cause problems. In also you may find that it contributes to the lack of communication, which we have already spoken about. But before I go to the, which I want to call the big seven, the issues that we are going to be talking about today, let's just talk about communication. I want to quote from the book where he says the number one reason couples get divorced is not because of money or sex or in-laws. It's because they don't know how to communicate with each other. And I could extend that and say they don't know how to communicate with each other about money, sex, or in-laws. And so you have to be able to communicate about everything in the marriage for the marriage to not only survive, but to grow. And when there are certain things that are not spoken about in the marriage, it starts to cause problems in the future, because a lot of the issues that are not said or spoken about, they tend to manifest themselves at a later stage, and at that point it's too late to fix them. And that is the problem with lack of communication. It's really a very, very big issue. So let us go, and I'm gonna, as I've said, there's about 7 issues. The main first one would be communication. Here we are talking about active listening, when we can genuinely listen to another person, not only the words they say, but be attached to even the emotions, their emotions at the time that they are communicating with us. To be able to listen to the things that are not said in the words is in itself a skill. And many people do lack that skill. And if they do not lack it, they do not practice it, especially when in the home there are so many dynamics inside of the family structure that people don't prioritize active listening and communication in their lives. And that also goes with open expression, where individuals are unable or feel intimidated to be open and express themselves inside of the marriage. Now, we may think that this is not a big deal, but for a divorce lawyer, he was amazed to see so many people that come with the issue that they are unable to express themselves. And in most cases, it could be unfounded fear where perhaps had they opened up, there would not have been an issue. But it's always like people, sometimes depending on personalities, people don't feel confident enough to express themselves and rather would then either bottle things up or feel that they are misunderstood because they are not expressive enough themselves. Then that leads us to the last point about communication, that's emotional safety, where there is not enough safe space for communicating with each other. We will deal with this again, I think, at some point as we go through the main points, because as we have said, communication is the problem that runs through all the other problems that we see in marriage. Then another problem is managing expectations. When people get married at the beginning, they are very excited and they're just so much in love with each other that they don't have enough time to talk about what they expect out of the marriage. And once the honeymoon is over, and now it's time to build a family, the individual expectations just don't get recognized anymore. People find the one spouse may find that now they are expected to fulfill a role all by themselves, especially if we're talking about women and raising children. That responsibility gets pushed to the woman, and sometimes unfairly. Similarly, the responsibility to work and bring food to the table sometimes is pushed to the man unrealistically. I'm talking here about where there is an opportunity for both parties to participate in working and bringing resources to the home, and we may find that one works and the other spends what the other one is making. So the managing of expectation is a real problem for a lot of people. But again, if you look at it, you'll start to see that communication needs to be part of everything that we do, including discussing those expectations. When couples get married, after a few years after marriage, they now start to have children, and the focus now becomes that of raising kids. And in the midst of raising kids, we tend to lose ourselves as individuals. And I think that's the another point that I will touch on a bit later. But let's talk about financial harmony. There are issues in the family where one person may feel that they don't have enough control of what happens to the financial resources in the home. And there can also be issues of secrecy where money issues are not fully disclosed, and their partners don't know the whole story about the financial situations. There are many stories where individuals, when they go to a divorce meeting, one of the issues is that even the house is already going for foreclosure because somebody has been mismanaging the finances and the other spouse is not even aware of it. And until people can, and what the author recommends is that you can have three accounts, one account for each of the spouses and a shared account. And if you do this, then the shared account allows each individual to have a say, and those would be for the big items in the family, but they will have the space to manage their own accounts, which are smaller accounts, and do not have to ask for permission to spend or for them to account for what they are doing with in their own account. But those would be smaller accounts that really, if they are mismanaged, they will not cause a lot of problems in the home. And let's talk about intimacy, because this is a very big problem. When couples get married, they are at the beginning of their courtship. They are still very young and sexually very active and energized. But sooner or later, when now they are settled into dealing with issues of raising kids, working longer hours, doing all of these, the intimacy is the first thing that starts to suffer. And in most cases, the the lack of intimacy eventually leads to divorce. In most cases, it's not only because of the busyness in the family, but it's because individuals from the beginning, I think also this is impacted by the different cultures where individuals are not to express their own fantasies and desires to the other person. And therefore, throughout the marriage, the person that is not does not meet their fantasies will always not be fulfilled within the realm of intimacy. So it's important that there should be open communication and free expression about what individuals are expecting from each other with regard to being intimate. And they should also make time to be intimate with each other despite all the issues that they are dealing with. And the other thing that is important is after the kids are grown up and they've left the house, people should go back to how they used to be when they were younger. And in most cases, when that intimacy is gone, that is when we see divorce, because there is no longer anything that is binding the two together once the children have left the house. Because if it is not the kids, it's intimacy, those are the things that bind them together. So he talks a lot about it, but as I said, he is more explicit talking about it than maybe I'm sugarcoating it. But I think everybody gets the idea what I'm talking about. Then there is maintaining individuality. The issue with individuality, again, we see it, this is something I mentioned earlier on, where it's mostly with women. Once they are in the house, they focus entirely on bringing up the kids, and they stop being who they were before the children were in the picture. They forget who they were, at the time when they were married with each other. And this in itself becomes a problem, because it causes that division between the parties. The one party does not see the other one as, or they don't get excited anymore by the individual the way they used to be, because this person is no longer excited about themselves or even reinventing themselves. But he says it's funny because what he has seen is after the divorce, most of the time people go back to reinvent themselves, to revisit the interests they had in the past. You know, you will see the change in fashion. You will see they start to go to certain places and certain restaurants. Sometimes if there's money, they start to drive, you know, different kinds of cars. You will see the convertible here, the sports car there. It's because now they are being themselves. And he's saying, why can't you be yourself while you are still married to each other and help to support each other in terms of growth regarding who you are? Then the other problem is that of facing challenges. We are talking here about unforeseen circumstances because they do happen. And let us say, for instance, there could be one of the parties is laid off from work and they are not working for a long time. How does the family deal with that issue? It could be an issue of illness, a severe illness that may start to challenge the family both emotionally and financially. And we need to be mature enough and skillful enough to know how to deal with this without easily giving up. But he has seen that some parties that are married, they show up and they just divorce and they say, I didn't sign up for this, when they are facing those critical issues in life. And he says we ought to ask ourselves, when we get married, how far are we prepared to go with the other person? How far are we prepared to deal with them? And we need to be focused on being, and it's not only one-sided, it's all parties together contributing towards that success when they are dealing with issues. And I think this is going to be the last one, and we're talking about infidelity in the marriage. It is also a very the statistics don't lie, and he sees 90% of people showing up wanting to be divorced because there is infidelity in the marriage. And there's different types of infidelities, but um, he's also saying if it's infidelity regarding sleeping with another person outside of the marriage, then there are cases where somebody has genuinely made a mistake by doing so and they're remorseful. How do we deal with a remorseful person? He says there are those that do it and it becomes um, a point where they realize that they really need their spouse more than they had anticipated. But dealing with infidelity, there is no right or wrong answer. But he says, as much as is possible, married couples need to be prepared that at some point or other there could be infidelity, and they should be prepared to, say, go for counseling, for instance, as an option rather than divorce. There has to be there could be mediation where they bring in a third party to come and say we have this problem in the house, and and we would like you to mediate and help us deal with it. But he also says it goes a lot with emotional maturity, and there has to be an element of forgiveness where there is remorse on the party that has done the wrong. And he is saying, as much as divorce could be the answer, let it be the last resort. When there is infidelity, there are many things that could be done. But he says the best thing to deal with infidelity is not to have infidelity in the first place. And he gives an example with Mike Pence. Mike Pence was known for not sitting with a female for lunch if they were only to be seated by themselves. In other words, without other people. And some people thought this was for a vice president. It meant that people who could should be having access to him were deprived of that access because he had a personal issue. But he is saying, look, at the end of the day, we could say that Mike Pence understood his weaknesses and let everybody know their weaknesses and not get into situations where they may find themselves exposed to those very weaknesses that they know they have. But he says if we go over infidelity, we need to allow healing to take place and to work towards rebuilding trust. And the last slide is not a problem, but perhaps it's just the conclusion to say for married couples, from time to time, we need to go back and ask ourselves, why did we get married in the first place? And if we can find that answer, then let's work towards maintaining it because we get married to create joy in our lives, to bring happiness into each other's lives. We get married so that there would be mutual growth, supporting each other in terms of personal growth and personal development. And we get married so that we can continue to grow in the connection that we have, building a partnership that is meaningful for our relationship. And let everybody who is married at least do that checkpoint. Why did we get married in the first place? And let's know the purpose, the true purpose of our marriage. And that is what we should focus on. Thank you so much. I will answer any questions and I would hand over to the moderator.
Thank you.
Thank you, Josh.
Wow.
Thank
Thank you
you.
very much.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much.
You said it all.
Yeah, so I think the floor is open for question. And if anyone want to make a comment, we'll have 3 minutes each person. But for the question, you ask a question, we don't count that one. So if anyone has question, hmm?
When's the time?
The timer is when someone is about to start, right?
Oh, well.
So,
Hey, hey, hi everyone.
Hello.
Hi,
hi,
Steve.
Steve.
Yeah, and welcome back, Fred Thomas. I'm gonna go quickly. Um, Thank you so much, Josh, for the wonderful presentation, the PowerPoint, and everything. Um, I'm not gonna go back to all the good point that you have already commented. So I'm just going to ask a question, and it's an open question that we can discuss maybe after, or you know, it seems like the guy didn't. Where is the place of of spirituality when it comes to the marriage. I feel like he didn't go over that aspect, and I feel like it's a really important aspect as well that we have to that we have to consider. Thank you.
I don't know. Thank you, Steve. I don't know, Josh, you want to answer right away or you answer later?
Yeah, I could maybe say something. The spirituality aspect is not. He is speaking as a technician,
A
but
coach.
also reading through and listening to him. He's Buddhist. That is where he sits in terms of spiritual alignment. But your question is, yes, spirituality is very important, because especially if we look at the different religions, there is a lot that has to do with bringing up children and building families within our religions. We have that element that is very strong. But having said that, I can also tell you that from my experience, I've seen there are so many problems inside. Let's talk about Christians because I'm a Christian. There are so many problems inside of Christian marriages, as much problems as you see outside of Christian marriages. So I think the problems that we are dealing with here are
Yeah.
true for everybody, including those that we believe are under spiritual guidance.
Uh,
Thank
all
you.
right.
Thank
Good.
you,
Thank
Josh.
you.
Thank you.
Okay. Can I go ahead and chip in quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So, yeah, thank you, Josh, for the great presentation. That was well developed and a lot of things from the book in your presentation. I read the book at first. His language is a little high. It's for a while. This is one of the book I read with a dictionary because I don't know if it's the jargon or I don't know if it's a higher lawyer level of writing, but it's a little bit. The words are very high level to me. So, but it's a great book. I got a lot of uh, kind of advices from the book that I wrote down for the marriage that is working, and I wanted to work more, right? So one of the things, the takeaway that I took from the book is send a hit now. No, hit send now, right? So that is a great advice that I want to take and count because it's helps solve the problem in the spot, right? So it's join your communication issue that you mentioned. So if there is any issue, anything that your the partner did and that hurt you emotionally, so he's advising to write about it and send it to the person immediately. And I really think it's a good advice that I want to take to I want to take and work on. So another thing he talks about that I like is that's the relationship is a compromise, right? So if you want to win all the time, sometimes it doesn't work. So at one point, the partners has to compromise on some stuff. He's not asking to giving up oneself, right? But there are subjects that people can compromise on to make the relation work. And he put it down like, what is it? Yeah, good relationship require deep compromise. Yes, to that, even an important value can be sacrifices. So that is That is true. Sometimes, especially when I take example of couple, some people like to sleep in the cold, some of them in the hot, right? But you all have to sleep in the same room. So there is a way to kind of figure out how to balance it out, right? Another thing I want to mention is that I like is stay interest to your partner by staying interesting about you outside of your life together. That point, I kind of got a little confused, right? How can you be interested to your partner and also be interested to think outside of the marriage? I don't know if Josh can explain that a little bit to me. And something that made me giggle a little bit about the book is the Ocho rule, right? A lot of people will stay in the marriage because of the percentage of the money they're getting from child support. So they will wait until they get the second child before they get divorced, so they can get 25% of the gross income of the other person.
It's
So
called
it made me giggle a
the
little bit.
Ocho.
Yeah, the Ocho rule. But beside that, I love the book. I didn't finish reading, and I'm gonna read the rest to get more advice about it. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, before I let Josh answer quickly, I would like to remind everyone about the FATO rule. The FATO rule is we need to stay in the 3 minutes so we can finish at 10 o'clock. Okay, for any other people who are going to talk. But I will let Josh answer you to the question that you asked. I don't know if Josh, you took note of column question or we put it like,
Yeah, I think the question is about how somebody can have an interest outside
yeah.
of the house. And he's citing two things about it, but maybe there's a few than two things because he says it here and there, but he's saying that when the two people got married, there were things that they liked about each other, and he says through as now life goes on, they start to abandon those things that excited the other person, and the other person is now still looking for that person, but he's going to find that person outside of the marriage. If you're clear with that. In other words, he gives the example of nanny. He says everybody sleeps with a nanny, and he says the reason they sleep with the nanny is not because the nanny is younger than the wife. He says he almost sees what his wife should be or what his wife used to be, because the nanny is here, she's committed to the kids, she takes care of the kids, but for a set number of hours, then she goes away. Now she is herself. But he says that the wife, she doesn't take time off from being the mother. She doesn't take time off to be herself, and it is that herself that is missing to the other person that results in the person now having to go outside looking for his wife in other people. It could be the other way around. It could also be the wife looking for the husband in other people, because the husband is no longer the same person that he was when they got married. Now he's a slob, becomes home. He has this beer belly, and he comes home, and he's got these big dirty boots that from work, and he throws things everywhere, and he's like now become this slob. He just sits in front of the TV. He doesn't go to the gym anymore. You understand all those things that happen because of life, right? And the wife is saying, no, I didn't sign up for this. I still want that person. And that person could be anybody. out there and not in the house.
Awesome. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you,
Thank
Josh,
you,
for
Joshua.
that. Yes.
That's awesome. So, anyone want to jump in, comment or question?
Yeah, let me jump in, please.
Remember the FATO rule, okay?
Yeah, yeah, don't worry. I'll do it on my end as well.
Go ahead.
So, thank you, Josh, for the presentation. If someone didn't read the book, your presentation was very very clear. It's like lecturer, and everything was stated in the presentation. Thank you for that. What I took from the book is the fact that I don't know, no one pointed out, but is the fact that he teach us as well when we are in front of, in the court, how to answer people. Don't just answer for answer, because what they are doing as a lawyer, they were trying to put you in a pen. PENN. They are trying to push you up to somewhere that you can no longer get away, and you ridiculous yourself by say, "Oh, what I said 2 minutes ago was wrong," or what I. So it's very very thoughtful. We had to take care of it. It's like teaching how to answer when we are in a court as well, which is very very important.
Okay.
And also, Steve was pointing out the fact that if the religion can play a role here, yes, the religion can play a role. And also, what he's pointing out here is is the occidental view of the wedding. If you go to certain different culture, it's not the same understanding of the wedding. The marriage was not the same. Like in Africa, there are people, I know people, the first wife will go and get the second wife for the husband because it's their culture. In Himalaya, one woman can take three men at the same time.
Three brother.
Yeah, three brothers at the same time because they don't want to share the how the lot or the plot. So those things make it a little bit changing from one culture to another. And when he was talking about Mike Pence rule that you cannot stay with someone who a woman or stay at the same table eating with that woman, is almost the same rule in Islam as well. Islam say you cannot stay in the room or isolated with a woman that you are meant to be able to marry. If you could marry that woman, you cannot isolate yourself with that woman. So those kind of rules in religion can help us to save a little bit, but marriage is like a divine thing in that sense that you don't know that person, but when you see at the beginning, you want to be with that person. So it's like a mystery. So we have to learn to live around. And another thing is Facebook. So take care of Facebook. Don't use too much Facebook, otherwise it might kill your
And
marriage as
TikTok.
well. Thank you.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Facebook and TikTok.
Yep.
Can I go next?
Yeah, go
Oh,
ahead, Beyond.
yeah.
Go ahead.
Go.
Okay, first I want to thank Joshua for the great presentation. And what I learned from the book is that not addressing your problems and putting them aside could and putting them aside for later could boil into a problem that costs 100 times the effort to fix. So it's better to address the issues now before they boil over into a situation that can't be contained.
All right.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's about it.
That's all.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Beyond. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Okay, I'm just gonna jump in real quick. About 3 minutes. Thank you everyone for being patient with me. Um, it hasn't been easy, but I'm here.
You owe money now.
I'm on mute.
You owe money now.
I owe the
Yeah.
whole world. I owe the whole world. I owe everybody my whole life.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, but I thank God for life. It's
Go
been
ahead,
tough,
Fatu.
but I'm here.
We are happy to
Um,
hear you.
that's my takeaway from the book. I just want to say thank you, uh, Josh, for the presentation. It was very detailed, and I enjoy how like your presentation, your PowerPoint, everything was very clear, and you were very detailed. So that was very helpful in your presentation. And my takeaway from the book, I was like, when I saw the book, I said, I wish this book has come in the beginning of my marriage because I didn't think I knew what marriage was before I got married, and I could have been one of the person in his office. Yes, so but the only good thing, my husband, he knew what he wanted in the marriage. So he kept on like keeping me. I was like, I'm done. I can't do this. It's like it slow down your goals. It slow down your desire to not that it would kills it, but it just slow it down. Like he said, you have to pull the person, you have to compromise. And I don't think I was waiting for that compromisation at first. So it was very intense. But later I realized like yeah, at one point my husband sat me down and said, just give me a chance. Give me time. I just got here. Everything cannot go smooth all the way you want. And that kind of like made me realize like what if I was the one who he sent for, and I have to find my way before I get things. And then it hit me. I was like, oh yeah, I need to compromise certain things. I need to compromise my desire and try to work with his desire. So things started going now smoothly, but it was a hard ground. So it just indicate like as a couple or marriage, a lot of us, I'm saying a lot of us, because a lot of people go into it and not knowing what really it entails to love somebody else that have already been that was raised differently, that have different desire, that have different attitude, it's hard. Even with the explanation, you can read these books, you will not still be able to compromise if you are not raised that way. It's easy to be said. It's easy, even if you know to do it is very hard. It has to take us like the Christian way for us to be able to get to where we are in our marriage. So it's a good reminder, and I just pray to hope that my husband will be able to read it too. But that's all I have. That the book reminds us, it teaches us, and those that are married and those who are about to get married, and what it entails that you are getting in. Those who are to be married, if they read these books, it helps them the mistakes. It helps them understand what is it is to be married, and that will help them a lot. Thank you, everyone.
Wow.
Thank you, Fatu.
Thank you very much, Fatu.
So, any comment?
Anyway, I really
Christian?
appreciate
Charlie, look
Fatu's
like you have
Cha-
a
comment.
network.
Charlie, your headphone is not working.
Yeah, your headphone is grounding.
We cannot hear you.
Maybe the
Yeah, can you
battery.
guys hear me now?
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah.
that's much
Okay.
better.
Yeah, I didn't want to disturb. That's why. Now, thank you so much, Patu. I couldn't help jumping in right away as I share your feelings so much, and I just remember what my past was and what life am I living right now. And first of all, thank you so much, Josh, for this brilliant presentation. I was a little bit impatient for the time it was taking. At the same time, I was so happy that overlook the time and then detail it with patience and all what it was required. And I was at one point I kept getting afraid somebody would say, okay, please remember the time or something, but no one said it. So thank you to everybody that we all sacrificed, but the detail was really useful. I really enjoyed it. Thank you so much. And like Fatu, I wish I read this book years ago. And I summarized the book into two sections. One with some whys, and the other one, I wanted to see if my doctrine of life is based in this, which is the non-violence in anything that I do
Yeah.
when it comes to
Okay.
doing things with others. Because I will start with the last one. Kept asking myself, what will he advise at the end? Should we fight or not to fight? And mine is never fight. I went through court issue only once in my life and I won't do it again. I got to a point where I believe the resources are not limited and I will always get mine. Therefore, when it gets to a point where I will get into those kind of fights, I will let it go. At the end, I read it in his presentation and that yes, it is not worth it. But he will not say that because his job depends on it. I was so happy that he said that in different way. And then Fatu mentioned it, better counseling than divorce courts. Go for anything that will help, learn, get, smarter emotionally than to come and then use cutlasses and, harsh and knife to share it. It won't give anything but to lose. So I love that and I kept it. Just love and let God. When it comes to a point where it wouldn't work, I'll let it go because I'll find mine. Now, the first part, oof.
You have 2 minutes. What happened, Shari?
I think he got a call.
Yeah, he's on the
Okay.
phone.
Okay.
And also, I don't think it's my rules that everybody's saying Fatu rules is because we read a book on time. And I
Yeah,
just
it's a
was
good
Yeah,
encouraging
a
all of
good
us.
rule.
it's a good rule. We are here for that. Whatever we read, we need to practice.
Right.
Right.
I was just reminding everybody. They be telling me like you like straight rules. I'm like, no, I just remind people.
Yeah. So, Krista, you want to jump in or you let me? Or you can
I
go.
can talk quickly
Yeah,
before
go ahead.
Frank Olivier picks up.
Mhm.
I want to thank Joshua first. A great presentation. Your PowerPoints, they were clear, cut to chase. At one point, I was taking screenshots of the PowerPoint because they were just very well detailed. So I want to thank you for the time you took to do that. And the way you presented things. I know it was past time, but this is a very important subject, and we were just all listening to you. Um, my takeaway from the book is I was telling Steve, every couple in this world, this is a must read because not only it gives you knowledge to do better, but it also helps you if you haven't engaged to know what to look for, to know what to expect, the challenges and everything of marriage. Um, Other than that, I have nothing else. Thank you, everyone, for all you have said.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you,
Thank
sister.
you. You have like the bigger ovation,
Standing
standing
ovation.
ovations. Okay. I would like to. You spend only 1 minute 25, so I might take 2 minutes or 1 minute something from yours. Thank you again, George, for the presentation and everything that you said about this book teaching us how to live together as a couple. My takeaway is about the personality of the author because after so many divorces, he ended up not being a divorce lawyer anymore. He is in the role of counseling how to bring a couple together to avoid divorces because he went to some situation where like he's defending one side of the couple, and then right they will do everything to harm the other part, right? They can make like video, they use people who gonna collect intelligence about the other person. In some cases the old person die or have accident, and so he get really affected. So today I think himself he get divorced also, right? But today,
He's a divorce.
yeah, he's not doing that divorce lawyer thing anymore. And in his interview, the footprint of his interview about the book, he's asking us to love each other as a couple, to value the time that we spend together, to not look at all of the little stuff that are not right in our daily life, and to not take life as granted. The other person might not always be there. So if we love our partner, our husband, our wife, spend some time to let them know. Take a piece of paper and write a note day after day, some day leave a note to say how much we value them, because we might not see the person anymore. They might go out and not coming back. And at the end also he's reminding us that every people who get married at some point, they're gonna be separated. If it's not by divorce, it will be by death. So we need to value every aspect of our time, to not put the bitterness in front, to look at, oh, he did this to me, I'm gonna do that to him. Or he did that to me, I'm gonna do this to her. And just live in peace and love each other. And that's my takeaway. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I finished at 10. See?
Yeah, I think I have only one word or two words.
Yeah.
First of all, I think I need to apologize because I thought I had nailed this presentation. And when I looked at the time, it was like double the time I was supposed to take. So I really don't know what happened. And I'm really
But
sorry.
you nailed it though.
But it's okay. We made it.
Yeah.
Please.
The other thing I want to thank Arun for helping me with the PDF. I couldn't find the PDF. I couldn't even find a copy of this book on Amazon other than the audio.
Yeah,
Um,
it's
so
$65 paperback. And
yeah, so really that was helpful for that to be provided to the group because I was not able to do that.
it's not available.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you
you.
again.
Thank you.
We are here to support each other.
Yeah. Shira, you have any word? Okay.
No.
It looked like Charlie's back.
Yes, I am. And I'm
Yeah.
so sorry. I was so much into it that I couldn't even notice that my phone was dying. And it was going slowly darkening until it died on me. I'm really sorry, but I have just the second portion, which is not going to take less than a few seconds, is the why. The why starts from why you, why me? And why are we getting into this together? Normally, this should happen before. But if it has not happened before, there is a need. I feel it when I was reading that we confront one another. It's not confronting, but it is to open up, to allow each other to know why we are into this together. And why me? Why you? If we could know those things and then work, if we know clearly, the book said it, he showed it shows throughout. And I have to confess, if I were to read this book before, I wouldn't have married my first, uh, uh, the, my first wife. And having read it, I knew I never regretted the separation, even though she's a great woman. We still remain very good friends till today. I knew it wasn't her, and I never regretted we divorced. So if I were to know this and I were to know the why I was going for this relationship, and then why me and why her, I wouldn't have done it. But I wish once we are already in, we should try and answer those questions. And he said it. If it is going to go bad, it will end up going bad. So when those whys are not addressed and they could not be reconciled, it is almost impossible to keep it together. If not, only suffering until one day people get out of it and feel that they could have done that long ago. So that is what I have